and deal as you wish. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot to everybody. I now hand over to Madam.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pandey, for such a wonderful explanation and extension of the participants as to who are going to attend this webinar. And of course, my experience is for the students who are coming from the legal backgrounds, but also I am giving lectures to those who are not directly from the legal background, but from other backgrounds also. And of course, law is a subject which, if we spell out this in LAW, law, that is land, air, and water, then it is applicable to everyone. So nobody is aloof from this law, and therefore, my point is that law, that is a subject, though it is for the law personals, but at the same time, everyone must know the law, because the ignorance of law is no excuse. This is one of the things that everybody must know as to the what is the law. So in this background, I would like to present my so is it visible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the topic on which I am going to speak, that is promotion of academic integrity and prevention of academic dishonesty, the values of research. So,
you can put it in slide mode. You can put it in slide mode so that it becomes a little bigger.
Okay. It's okay now?
It's fine. Yes, yes.
Okay. So before jumping to as to what is academic integrity and prevention of academic dishonesty, first of all, as I may be aware that you are all from the science background, maximum from the science background. So research, what we do in the research, and what is the purpose of the research, why do we research, what is the result of research, and how do we proceed for the research, this is also very, very important. So the basic thing is that when we talk about what is research, it is just to go around the thing that what has been done by the earlier researcher, we have to proceed further. So what the earlier researcher has done, we have to do the things which have been not done by the earlier researcher, or we have to do something which was left by the earlier, or which is missing by the earlier researcher. So this is how we proceed for the research, and it is to build on the work of the others. This is the research, and there are various stages of the research you must all be knowing about, right from the we can say starting from the selection or the formulation of the research problem, then we review the literature, then hypothesis, then methods of studies, doctrinal method or non-doctrinal method, then collection of data, preparation of research design, testing of hypothesis and analysis of data. So all these things are the part of the research, and which is required for the researcher. Now, if we talk about the footnotings and the styles, the preparation as to how to write this research, this is the thing where we have to think about as to what is academic integrity and how to prevent this academic dishonesty. This is because this is going to lead to the value of the research. So when we talk about the academic integrity, when we talk about the academic integrity, then we consider that the discussion tends to revolve around the cheating, plagiarism, dishonesty, fraud, and other academic malpractices, and how best to prevent the behavior of the person concerned. So a most productive approach which entails a focus on promoting the positive values are honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. So courage is also there as an intrinsically motivated, we can say, drivers for ethical academic practices. So academic integrity that is related to the ethical issues in the research that based on all these things of honesty and objectivity and responsibility and so many things which are there. So when we talk about the honesty, then first of all, we must know that what is honesty in a research activity. So we have to strive for the honesty in all scientific communications, honesty in reporting the data, honesty in reporting the results, the methods, the procedures, and publication status. Then we should not fabricate, we should not falsify or misrepresent the data, and we should not deceive the stakeholders, whether they are our colleagues, they are the research sponsors, or to the general public even, because every research is meant for the society. It is all, of course, for our own experience, it is our for excellence, intellectual, we can say criteria is there, but it is also for the public and society. So we have to be honest towards the society while doing the research. Then the second point which comes, or the second value, fundamental value of the academic integrity is the trust. And in that trust, we feel that we have to protect the confidential communications, such as the papers, such as the grants submitted for the publications, then the personal records of the persons, then the trade or military secrets, because research is in every field. It's not confined only to the science field, it's not confined to the legal field. There are researchers of every type. So we have to maintain the confidentiality as well as the anonymity also, so that we can have the trust of the person. So at the same time, the patient records, we have not to disclose all these things. Then as a responsible publication, we have to publish in order to advance the research and scholarship, and not to advance just our own career. Then we have to avoid the wasteful and duplicative publications. There are so many types of the publications which I'll be discussing later on. Then the next point is that of the fairness. So in that fairness, we have to be open. Open for what? Open for sharing the data, open for results, its ideas, then tools, resources, what we have used. And also at the same time, we have to be open for criticism for the new ideas. That what we have done, that is not all. If there are certain criticisms, so we have to accept that. We have to be that much fair in our work so that we can show the openness. Then we have to respect the intellectual property of the others. For example, we have to honor the patents, we have to honor the copyrights and the other forms of the intellectual property. You are belonging to the agricultural field, and the plant varieties are there, and other acts are also there which provides for this intellectual property. So we have to respect that. Then we have to give the proper acknowledgement of all those works which we have considering in our own work, and the credit is to be given for those work and contributions in that research. So for that, we have not to plagiarize. Then at the same time, when we are doing the research relating to the human subjects, then we have to protect them. When conducting research on the human subjects, then we have to minimize the harms and risks and maximize the benefits also. Then we have to respect the honors of the others' dignity, others' privacy, and autonomy at the same time. So we have to take special precautions, and we have to take special care, particularly with those who are vulnerable in the society. And then we have to inform fully the persons that what is going to be the advantage of this result, and what is the we can say what would be the benefit or to those persons of this result. And the next point is that of the responsibility. So in that responsibility, we have to be a responsible mentoring. We have to help the persons concerned, to educate them, to supervise, to guide, and to mentor the students, because this is the duty and responsibility of every supervisor, every teacher concerned, every faculty member, that how we have to educate our students. Because this system of academic integrity, that is coming from top to bottom, and that is the teachers who have to instill these feelings and these values in the students by their education, by supervising, by guiding them, and to promote their welfare and allow them to make their own decisions. So this is the responsibility of every teacher. At the same time, we are also having certain social responsibilities so that we can strive to promote social good and prevent or mitigate the social harms through research and public education. So this is our responsibility which we have to follow, and from these values flow the principles of behavior and that enable the academics communities to translate ideals into action. As we say that research ethics and academic integrity, these are the same things. So what are the points for academic integrity, or what are the fundamental values of the academic integrity? Those are very important for the researcher, for a teacher, or for everyone in the higher educational system. And then only we can say that we are translating those moral values into action. So morality and ethics, these are the two types of the things. Ethics is a code of conduct which is applicable to a particular community, while morality is in action. As we know that we need everyone to do something good for us, and similarly the other is also expecting the same thing from us. So this is the basic point where we can say yes, it is the academic integrity. These are the rules of ethical principles which everyone has to follow. Then come to the academic dishonesty. Now, when we talk about the academic dishonesty, then it simply means the cheating, stealing, or academic dishonesty is also related to the plagiarism. So I am going to focus on the plagiarism here very much. Academic dishonesty is an issue that is of concern of the worldwide. It is not that in India we are facing this academic dishonesty. It is there in the world. It is China, Europe, America, everywhere you find that the academic dishonesty is writ large. And they are also having certain measures to control that academic dishonesty. So with the advent of the web, we can say it has made simpler everyone, for the students, for the researcher, and for academicians also to enjoy and to this dishonest and immoral practices. Just to copy and paste and then that thing becomes yours. This is not the thing. So first of all, academic dishonesty. Why do we do this, or why do we follow this academic dishonesty? And why we have this system of academic dishonesty? So there are various reasons for. When we talk about why of academic dishonesty, that is why for this plagiarism. So there are so many points. For example, there may be some study pressure on the student concerned, or they may be poor in the study habits. They are not good at their studies. At the same time, they don't want to do proper labor, so they plagiarize the things. Then this cut and paste culture, as I told you, this is very much in prevalent in the academic or in academia. Then lack of understanding of the seriousness of the plagiarism is also there. Everybody is not aware as to what are the rules, what are the laws. So they don't know that there are certain rules which may impose certain penalty, which may impose the punishments also. So the non-awareness or unawareness or lack of the knowledge of the law, that is also one of the reasons that why do we follow this academic dishonesty. Then lack of the strict academic discipline also. The faculty, the institution, higher education institution, they are also not telling the students as to what to do. So it has to be started from the beginning. You see that the students from the high school or the school level, when they are giving certain homework, then they copy and paste, and the teachers are not going to see that this is wrong. So this habit develops from the very beginning. That has to be controlled from there. But we have the rules for the university system. So when a student who is coming from this after completing his schooling to the university level, so he has developed this academic dishonesty. So at that stage, this is very possible that either he doesn't know that what is academic dishonesty, or even if he knows, but now this is the time that he is not going to undo the things. So this is also there. Careless attitude may be one of the criteria. Then lack of referencing skill, he may not have developed from there, because for that a proper guidance is required, and that guidance is not being made to the student concerned. So these are the points. At the same time, one most of the important point which I find here in UP is that the English as an international language. So in many cases, the students, they are coming from the non-English speaking areas and they don't know, and because we all know that in higher education, the material is available in English. So in order to do their work, they just copy and paste. So this is one of the reasons why the academic dishonesty is going large in the society, in the higher education or in academia. So before going to this as to why academic dishonesty, we have to see that why they are doing this. So they are doing this because to achieve certain goal. And what are those goals? The time limit for the research scholar that he or she has to submit the dissertation or the PhD thesis in a particular time, be it 4 years, 3 years, or whatever the time for the PhD thesis dissertation for a master's course within 6 months, or after getting this 2 years course that he or she has to submit. Similarly, for the teachers, if they are engaged in this academic dishonesty, achievement goal is that they have to complete that API or index through which they can be promoted to the higher position, or they can be elevated, that if assistant professor to associate, or and the similar case from associate to the professor. So the purpose of this academic dishonesty seems sometimes that the person wants to achieve the goal, and if they are achieving the goal through academic dishonesty, then we see that majority of students are involved at least one form of the academic dishonesty, which is leading to the epidemic of cheating. Epidemic of cheating, that means that it, as I told you, it is not confined to India, but it is everywhere. So we have to maintain the performance and achievement goals and to play a key role in the individual's likelihood of cheating, as to how we can avoid this cheating culture from the students as well as from the faculty also, because whenever there are research papers publications, again we see that this is they are following, or they are following this academic dishonesty. So we have to take care of all these things. Now, as we say that the UGC has come up, University Grants Commission, that is the controlling agency of the higher educational institutions, then it has come up with the regulations, that is the University Grants Commission, Promotion of Academic Integrity and Prevention of Plagiarism in Higher Education Institutions, Regulation 2018. So whether before 2018, this plagiarism, which was not considered to be a part of the UGC regulation, so is it possible that we could do this plagiarism, or we can adopt this academic dishonesty prior to 2018? No, it was not there. And for that, we have to learn as to what is the rules of ethics, what is academic integrity. And it is not only that we have to be controlled only through the regulations, only through the laws. This is the morality, this is the integrity, this is the ethics of the student concerned, the researcher and the faculty, that they have to follow minimum criteria, that it is up to them that they should not follow the dishonesty, they should not go by dishonest means. And this is how this University Grants Commission has also come up with this. And UGC has asked that all the states and the central universities to use this anti-plagiarism software to check duplication on the PhD thesis, and making it mandatory to all the universities to use the anti-plagiarism software before awarding the PhD thesis. The UGC has also recommended this Urkund software. So we see that for plagiarism detection, there are various tools. Urkund is one of them. Besides that, Authenticate is there, plagiarism.org is there, then Turnitin is there, RightCheck. There are so many softwares which are available on the websites and which are to be there with the higher educational institutions to check as to whether the work which has been submitted either by the student or by the faculty, whether there is plagiarism in that work or not. So this is how we see that the University Grants Commission has come up with this regulation for the higher educational institutions. But do we know that this plagiarism is not confined only to the higher educational institutions or to the academia, but there are other fields also where this plagiarism is writ large. You may be shocked to listen that one of the judgment of the Delhi High Court that was challenged, that 33 paragraphs of that judgment were taken from some others. That is a duplicate that has been copied from some other, we can say, article written by some of the persons, and that was challenged, and the court has to come up with the apology that yes, we have taken, and this is because of the persons who has the law clerks, that they have done it and we have not seen, but otherwise we are apologizing for the same. It is a copied work. So it is not for the academia, it is also, we can say, seen in other fields also. So education system is moving towards this chronic quality deficit and plagiarism in perpetuity, and that's why we see that the UGC has come out to take the charge for why this law has to be made or why these regulations have to be made. And in that we see that it is only 12 section regulations. So I would like to emphasize more on what is the objective on which this particular regulations have been made. So section 1, that is, you are saying this is a short title, application and commencement. So title, as I have shown you, application, that is applied only to the higher educational institutions, and commencement, it is started or it has been commenced from the 31st July 2018. That was the day when it was notified, and it has been applied in all the higher education academic institutions. Now there are certain definitions. The definitions are so many things, but for the purpose of this topic of academic integrity, I have chosen only a few one. For example, academic integrity, as to what is the definition of the academic integrity in this particular regulation. So the regulation says that it is the intellectual honesty. Academic integrity is the intellectual honesty in proposing, performing and reporting any activity which leads to the creation of intellectual property. So this is academic integrity as has been defined in this regulation. Then who has to be considered as the author? Author includes a student, a faculty, a researcher, a staff, everyone from the higher educational institution who claims that he is the creator of a particular work which is under consideration. Consideration for what? Consideration for similarity check, consideration for the originality check, so that it is not related to any of the academic dishonesty. So author is that person. Then if we say the faculty, then faculty refers to a person who is teaching and guiding the students enrolled for the either for the PG classes or for the UG classes, at the same time for the research PhD scholar. And it is not only the permanent or the regular faculty, but it is the ad hoc faculty, guest faculty, temporary faculty, as well as visiting faculty. So faculty definition is very, very enlarged by this definition, which includes every type of the person who is guiding, who is supervising. That will come under this particular regulation. And so far as the researcher is concerned, then we know that researcher is a person who is conducting the academic and scientific research. He may be a student, a PhD student, he may be a MSc student for doing his the dissertation. At the same time, the researcher may be a teacher also who has published certain work. Then a student, that is very clear, the student of UG, PG and PhD, and the program, that is either PhD or of the PG program. Then plagiarism is also defined in this particular regulation to mean that the practice of taking someone else's work or idea, passing them as one's own. That means plagiarism is something like passing off, that you are copying from others' work without giving the credit to that work, and you are getting it published in your own name. That is plagiarism. So plagiarism is a Latin word, plagiarii. It was known as the kidnapping. that you are stealing, you are kidnapping others' work, you are taking others' work without acknowledging that this is the work of some other person and you are making it your own work. So here comes the trademark law, the copyright law. I'm not going into detail as to what exact position is there, but for the purpose of understanding as a student, as a faculty, that plagiarism is an offense and this has not to be followed by any faculty, any researcher, any student in higher educational system, so that he may he may follow the academic integrity and not involve in any type of the academic dishonesty. Then regarding the source and the script, then source is any type of the primary and secondary source, whether it is published or unpublished. The source may be considered to be the published as well as unpublished also. So if there is an idea of other persons, if the students, they are talking, or the teachers, they are talking with each other, they are consulting something and there grows some idea. And the person who has given that idea, who has floated that idea, he is not writing on that. And the other person who has taken that idea has written something, then again it would be academic dishonesty, because the idea is not of the person who has written the paper. The idea is of some other person and he has not said that you work on my idea. So that is also a source. It may be the opinion, as I told you, directly from the person concerned, from the eminent scholars, from the public figures, from the practitioners of in any form. It may be audio, it may be video, or it may be image, or it may be text. So whatever is there, that would be considered to be the source, which has to be avoided. Then Section 3 of this regulation, that is related to the objectives. So what are the objectives? Why this regulation have been made? So objective is that, number one, to create awareness. What type of the awareness? So it is providing for to create awareness about the responsible conduct of research, thesis, dissertation, promotion of academic integrity, and prevention of the misconduct, including plagiarism in academic writing among the students, among the faculty, researcher, and staff. So what is the first objective? To create the awareness. Awareness in whom? Awareness in the student, faculty, and researcher about what? About to prevent the misconduct, about to prevent the plagiarism. So this is the first objective of this act. The second is that to establish institutional mechanism. Now, when we see that students or researcher or faculty is involved in using or misusing the things, or involved in the plagiarism or academic dishonesty, then how to decide? Who will decide that, yes, this is the case of the plagiarism? And for that, this regulation provides to establish the institutional mechanism. So it said that every higher educational institution has to establish the institutional mechanism through education and training to facilitate the responsible conduct of the research and the thesis, dissertation, and promotion of the academic integrity. For what? For deterrence from the plagiarism. So that institutional mechanism, I'll be coming on that. The academic institution cell, that is the integrity cell at the institution level, at department level, these are the provisions here. So to establish the institutional mechanism is another objective of this regulation. And the third one is that to develop the system to detect the plagiarism. And for that, a system has to be set up, the mechanism has to be provided for to punish the student for the plagiarism, and the faculty and the researcher, staff, as the case may be, for the act of plagiarism. So this is how we see that the objective is 3 points. 3 points are there: to create the awareness among the students and faculty, to establish the institutional mechanism to detect, and to develop the systems to detect the plagiarism. This is how we see that the system works for the higher educational institution to decide as to what has to be done. Then this regulation under section 4 provides for the duties of the higher educational institution. So the duties are there is a very long list of the duties, but importantly we see that the main duty of the higher educational institution is to establish the mechanism as prescribed under these regulations of 2018, and to enhance the awareness about the responsible conduct in the research and academic activities, to promote the academic integrity, and to prevent the plagiarism. So the basic purpose is only and only to promote academic integrity and to prevent academic dishonesty. Then awareness programs and trainings. This is also a part of the regulation under Rule 5, which speaks about or which confers upon certain duties on the higher educational institution as such, that the higher educational institution shall instruct the students, faculty, etc. What for? For seeking the permission of the author wherever necessary, acknowledgement of sources, then the compatibility of it with the needs and the specificities of the disciplines, all are in accordance with the rules or not. This has to be seen, and this is the duty of creating awareness of the programs and training. So for this, what the higher educational institution have to do, they have to conduct the sensitization seminars, awareness programs for every semester students on responsible, how the research can be conducted responsibly, and then the promotion of academic integrity. For that, they have to go for these seminars, etc. At the same time, this also includes that the curricula of the undergraduates, UG, PG, at the master's degree, there must be a compulsory course or work module on this plagiarism. And it also includes the elements of the responsible conduct of the research and publication ethics as a compulsory coursework and module in the master's case or the research scholars also. And at the same time, it is not confined, or this awareness program is not confined only to the students of UG, PG and PhD, but at the same time, this is also the duty of the higher educational institutions, that it should include the element of responsible conduct of research and publications and ethics in the orientation and refresher courses organized for the faculty and the staff members of the educational institution. So this is a 3 ways we can say awareness program for the students of UG, PG, for the research scholars, at the same time for the faculty members, that they must come up with the seminars and training, symposia, sensitization program, so that they may be aware. So as I told you that unawareness may be one of the ground of involving in the academic dishonesty. So this is how the rules provide for that. No, you should not remain unaware. Awareness programs must be there through this higher educational institution. And this is how the trained students, faculty and the staff, etc., that using plagiarism detection tools and reference management tools. So all these trainings have to be given to all the persons who are the part of the higher educational institution, either they are the faculty or they are the students in any of the area concerned. Then Rule 6 provides for the curbing of the plagiarism. When we talk about the curbing plagiarism, then we say that yes, we have to prevent the plagiarism, and how it has to be prevented, this is given under the regulation of 2018. So again, this is the duty of the higher educational institution to declare and implement the technology-based mechanism using appropriate software, so as to ensure that the document like thesis, dissertation and the publications are such that they are free from plagiarism. And at the same time, that has to be given before the submission. Then the mechanism as defined here, that is, it shall be the duty of, again, of the higher educational institution, that they have to make it accessible to all engaged in the research programs. Again and again, this is student, faculty and staff. This is all given under the regulation which provides for curbing of the plagiarism. Now, when the students have to submit their dissertation or this PhD thesis, then they have to give a certificate that the work has been checked, or the work is free of plagiarism. So when this certificate is to be given by the student, at the same time a similar certificate is to be given by the supervisor also that this is the original work of the student and it is plagiarism free work. So this is how the duty has been imposed upon the student as well as on the supervisor also, that they have to see that the work is plagiarism free. It is the work of the student, it is the original work of the student or the researcher, and to this aspect one certificate has to be submitted before the at the time of the submission of the thesis, dissertation or PhD. At the same time the research publication also, that it is free of that. And then again, if we see that there are certain more rules for curbing this plagiarism which have been made under this regulation, is that this is not only confined to giving the certificate by the student as well as by the supervisor, but the work which has been submitted by the student, that is in the shape of the dissertation, in the shape of the PhD thesis, then the higher educational institution shall submit to the INFLIBNET. INFLIBNET, that is the website on which the which is uploading all the research thesis and dissertation etc. on their program, that is Shodh Ganga e-repository. So this is the duty that if students submit the PhD thesis, then that copy of the soft copy of the master's or research program, dissertation thesis, whatever it has to be, within 1 month of the submission by the student, that has to be submitted by the HCI to the INFLIBNET, so that it may come on the Shodh Ganga, that is a repository. Then at the same time, the higher educational institution also have to create institutional repository on the institutional website. So I have seen that there are so many central universities and state universities. These rules are applicable for all the central and state universities, but I think that none of the university has any institutional repository on which the work of their students, their research scholars, dissertation and the PhD thesis have been uploaded. But this is the part of curbing plagiarism. This is a rule of the UGC, and which says that this is the HCI that has to create institutional repository on the institutional website, which shall include the dissertation, the thesis, paper, publication, or any in-house publication, whatever is there, then it has to be published there. Then comes a very important point of similarity checks for the exclusion from plagiarism. When we talk about the similarity check, that means we want to know how much work is original of the student, how much work is the original of the research scholar and the faculty through which the publication is, they are trying to publish that paper. So if we talk about the similarity check, then there are certain things which are excluding from the similarity check. For example, all quoted work which have been reproduced with all necessary permission and attribution. That if you are going to quote the work of the other through some quotations, then you have to take the permission either, or you have to attribute, you have to acknowledge that this is the work of a particular scientist, jurist or whatever, and you are quoting this in your research work so you can reproduce that quoted work but with necessary permission. And all references, all bibliography, table of contents, preface, acknowledgement. These are the points of your work, dissertation, as well as of your PhD thesis, that there can be no similarity check. This is not a part of the similarity check. On this, various, we can say, detection tools, plagiarism detection tools will not be working on. And then all generic terms, whatever you are using in your science, agricultural, fisheries, those generic terms are out of this similarity text. Similarly, various laws, because we work on the laws, so laws are also, we can say, not the part of this similarity check. Then standard symbols and standard equations in mathematics and other, we can say, discipline. So these are the things which are out of this section 7 of this rules, in which the similarity check does not work. But there is a proviso of this similarity check. Provisos is said, that is certain exceptions. And that means on these similarity check will not work, but these are the points on which the similarity check for the exclusion from plagiarism will work. So the research work which is carried out by the student or the faculty or the researcher, and it shall be based on the original ideas. And original idea will include the abstract of your work, the summary of your work, your hypothesis, your observations, the results, your conclusion and recommendations, and on these things there shall not be any similarity. So in your research work, what would be your own work, what would be the work on which you can take from the other, is given under section 7 of this similarity check. And what should be your work, that abstract, summary, hypothesis, conclusion, recommendation, your results, and your observation, this must be yours. So in that work, you cannot take from others' work. You cannot copy from the others' work. If you will do that, then naturally it will come under the similarity check, and the work will be taken as a similar work from the others, and that would be a cause for using this academic dishonesty or plagiarism. So it shall, but at the same time, it will also exclude that if you are going to quote certain points from certain lines from some other work. So it can go as per this rule up to 14 consecutive words. You can use that, and this is not coming under this similarity check. Then for this similarity check, we have seen that the University Grants Commission that has allowed the Urkund as the plagiarism detection tool. But going through that Urkund, what we are witnessing in our university also, the students when they submit their dissertation for the plaque check, then their PhD thesis for the plaque check, then the limitation with this Urkund is that this software does not recognize any Indian language. So if the students, they are writing in Hindi, though it is 100% copied from the Hindi work, but it will show only 1 or 2% plagiarism. So this is the one of the, we can say, limitation of this Urkund. Turnitin, that is very good software to check this plagiarism because it is checking through millions of, we can say, cross references. So we see that there is a vast difference between the result of the plaque check between Urkund and this Turnitin. And it depends on the person, particular higher educational institution as to which software they are using. And because the UGC has said Urkund is very easy to connect with, and various universities are following this Urkund. And for that, it is having certain negative aspects of this scrutiny also. All percentage of similarity may not be plagiarism as such. Because if a report has been given by the plaque after this plaque check that the student's work is, for example, 19% similar with the other work, so the plagiarism is 19%. Now the supervisor says that you revise your work and to bring it down up to 10% only, because that is what is provided in this regulation. So the student, when after revising again submit for the plaque check, then it comes 100%. And it becomes very impossible that the student who has revised the work and lowering down the plaque or whatever we can say copy and paste he has done in his work to 10%, and it is showing 100%. So the reason being is that the persons or the assessors who are checking this or who are doing this plaque check, they also need to be trained accordingly, that they need to exclude the quotations, bibliography, and while checking the document, they have not to continue with the earlier check, and they have to remove the earlier, because the document is saved there. And when they again do the same work for this plaque check, then it comes 100%. So this is also a matter of the training for the assessors who are doing this thing. And under this similarity check, exclusion from plagiarism, that is important, and this is also to be considered by all the scholars, whether they are belonging to the science field, arts field, or any other field. This is there because higher educational institution that are there are so many disciplines, and it is applicable to all of them. It's not confined to law students, it's not confined to science students, it is for all, because PhD thesis submission is for them. Then level of plagiarism. What shall be the level of plagiarism? So it is to be quantified, and the rules provides for 3 levels of plagiarism. The first is known as the level 0. that is similarities up to 10% are considered to be the minor similarities, and there is no penalty for that. So up to 10%, there is no penalty under these regulations. But level first, that is similarity above 10% and to 40%. So in between 10 to 40, if there is any, we can say similarity, then this will be considered level 2. Level 3 is that similarity between 40 to 60, and the last is similarity between that is level 3, that is similarity above 60%. So these are the various, we can say, points in which the level of plagiarism has to be checked with. Then detection, reporting, handling of plagiarism. Then it is another point where we see that the detection is to be made as to how it has to be made. Then for that, it is followed with the section 10 and 11. Who will detect this? Then there will be departmental academic integrity panel and institutional academic integrity panel under section 10 and 11. So when we say that the after similarity check, there is found to be some plagiarism, then it has been detected by using the particular software, and it has to be reported by. Who can report? Anyone can report that there is a plagiarism in the work. The supervisor can report, the students can also say that his work has been copied by the other person. So these are the reporting things. Then how to handle this plagiarism? So for that, this mechanism has been provided, the departmental academic integrity panel and institutional academic integrity panel. So in departmental integrity panel, if we see, then we find that the head of the department shall be the chairman, and there shall be 2 more persons, that is one member who is a senior from the outside. That person, the head of the department, one member will be from the out of the department and not from the same institution, but from some other institution. And the third person member will be a person who will be well versed with the anti-plagiarism tools, and he has to be nominated by the head of the department. So this 3 members committee would be there for the departmental academic integrity panel. This is the first stage. Whenever there is any detection of the plagiarism, then this departmental academic integrity panel that will start working, and the quorum will be of 2 and out of 3. And they will be appointed for 2 years. Then when the department suggests and detect that yes, the case is there of plagiarism, and it has to use the principles of natural justice that says that hear the other person also. And the second is the rule against bias. These are 2 law principles. Bias means that the person cannot be a judge in his own case. That means if departmental academic integrity panel, a person, the head of the department himself is involved, then he cannot be there. For that, another person has to be made the member for that particular, we can say, integrity panel. So that is liable to be changed. So similarly, in institutional academic integrity panel, this is a composition of 4 members. That is the vice chancellor or the head of the institution. Along with that, the one senior member from the university itself, 1 member from the outside, and 1 person from the who is knowing or who is aware about the using of this plagiarism tool. And they are appointed for 3 years. So these 2 mechanisms which are there under section 10 and 11 of the these regulations, they have to work and they have to follow the principles of natural justice. And when the academic institutional panel, they give their report, then within 45 days of that receipt of the complaint and relation to this proceeding, action has to be taken. So what action has to be taken? That is resulting into the penalty. So this penalty is also given under section 12 of the regulation. Now, when we talk about the penalty, then we find that penalty is again 2-fold. One is the under 12(1), which provides for the penalty of in the case of the plagiarism in submission of thesis and dissertation. That is for the students. So as I told you that there were certain labels, and if we see that 0 label, no penalty, no punishment, minor similarity up to 10%. But level 1, when it comes to the similarity between 10 to 40%, then the student shall be asked to submit a revised script, and within a stipulated time of 6 months. That if it is found 10 to 40% similarity with others' work, then the student's dissertation or thesis cannot be submitted, and it would be returned back to him for revision, and that revision is to be done within 6 months. This is the first level of penalty. The second level of penalty is that similarity between 40 to 60%. Then again, the student shall be debarred from submitting this his thesis or his dissertation work for a period of 1 year. So that up to 1 year he cannot submit, but he has to revise so that it has to lower down up to below 10%. And the third level, that is 60% and above similarity, in that case the student's registration for that program shall be cancelled. So this is the penalty which is given for the submission of the thesis and dissertation. And the third stage, that is 60% and above, that is very important, that if it is more than 60%, then the registration shall be cancelled. This is given under the regulation. And again, if the penalty is repeated, for example, after the first level of penalty, the student who has submitted his revised manuscript or revised dissertation or thesis, and again it is found that there is similarity, then the next time penalty would be one level higher. One level higher. That is, if it is 10 to 40, then the penalty would be 40 to 60. If it is 40 to 60, penalty would be 60 and above. So this is the rule which has been given under this section 12(1) for the student consent. Now come to the penalties in case of the plagiarism of academic and research publication. So research publications can be done by the student, by the faculty members both, and in that case again there are 3 stages or 3 levels of the penalty of this plag check. Level 1, similarity check up to 10%, no penalty, it is considered to be minor thing, and in that case there is no penalty, minor similarities. Stage 2, that is level 1, the similarity is between 10 to 40%. Then the this for research publication, either the faculty or the scholar, they would be asked to withdraw the manuscript. In between 10 to 40, they will be asked to withdraw the manuscript. Level 2, similarity between 40 to 60%, then they shall be asked to withdraw the manuscript. At the same time, the faculty, if it is a case relating to the faculty, then the faculty shall be denied a right of 1 annual increment. And at the same time, he or she will not be allowed to be a supervisor for a period of 2 years to any MPhil student, PhD student, or any of the scholar for 2 years. So in case of the penalty for the academician, for the faculty members, for the research publication, it is on the higher side. And in case of in level 3, if it is 60% and above, then he shall be asked to withdraw the manuscript. At the same time, will be denied 2 successive annual increments and shall not be allowed to be a supervisor for a period of 3 years. So this is the penalty for the first time when it has been done by the academician or the faculty member. But if the penalty is repeated, then there are very serious implications of that. And you see that at the higher level, that is in case of the third type of the penalty, the teacher can be or the faculty can be terminated also from the services. So in these type of the penalty cases, we have to be very, very, we can say, thoughtful as to what the work we are doing. That must not be dishonest work. Academically, we have to save ourselves for this. And then what we can do, because this regulation is of 13 sections, 12 I have told you. 13 is regarding the legal material, that is repeal, etc. Whenever there is another law that will be repealed, so that is still in, we can say, existence. Now we know that the academic dishonesty is there, everything is there, and with the creation of this knowledge NKN, knowledge, this National Knowledge Commission (NKN), we see that this knowledge economy is there, and knowledge creation is considered for any research work. So, what are the problems in the knowledge creation, and what is the solution thereof? This is what we have to discuss with the students, with the faculty also, so that it may be important for that yes, it is the point where we can find that what are the solution. So first of all, we see that the financial resources. So we have a lack of financial resources and research support from the government. You see that in China and US, they are getting a maximum percentage of their GDP for the research publications and for the research work. But in India, we are having a very low amount in our GDP for the research or support by the government. So this is one of the problem which stops the knowledge creation. Then lack of knowledge friendly research environment. The emphasis we see that in most of the universities, it continues to be teaching because the limited research faculties for the rural students are also there. We see that the teachers, they are overburdened by what? By taking the classes. When I was there for a training program in US, then I have seen that in law department itself, there were more than 300 faculty members for a limited number of students. So they were having more and more time for research. So here what we see that the teacher is overburdened. The UGC says that a professor has to take 14 classes or 12 classes, but we are taking 20 classes per week. So a teacher, when he's giving his time for teaching, when he'll get the time for research. So this is one of the point that it is also giving a lack of the friendly research environment to the teachers, that they are not doing good research. This is one of the problem. Then limited research facility for the rural students also. We see that in various rural areas, there are schools, colleges, university, degree colleges are running. They are also having the science departments. But if you see the working nature there, if you see their labs, then you'll find that there are no chemicals, there are no equipments, and they are working. So how they can do in this limited research facility? And this is one of the cause, this is one of the problem we can say. So we have to decide as to what may be the solution for that. We have to give them proper financial resources, because finance is there involved everywhere. And at the same time, we are also lacking the world-class libraries. Library, you know, is one of the best equipment for any research and publication. Without using the library, one cannot work. And if you see the libraries, we can say results, then you'll find that more and more articles are like a particular higher educational institution is downloading. The result of the research publication would also be very, very higher. So there are lack of the libraries. We are not having the libraries. Then lack of ICT culture also. This is also one of the problem, that this due to this COVID now, online classes and everything is going on, but there is still is a digital divide. We see that even if we are having the equipments, we are having the laptops, we are having the broadband and everything, internet facilities available, but we are not aware as to how to operate with that. This is one of the we can say we are lacking in this ICT culture. At the same time, digital divide, the students, the teachers or faculty who are living in the interior areas where the internet is not available, they are not having the laptop, they are working only through the mobiles. So by that way also, we can say that the ICT, which is very important for any research, that we are lacking in our country for so many reasons. Then this absence of the instant monitoring of research work, that is also one of the criteria or problem where we have to think about. As member of the some of the committees in MRP, UGC have seen that the midterm evaluation is going on, monitoring for the research work of any project. Then we see that seeing the face of the person who is coming, then the committees who are sitting there, they just allow, they give extension, they give more money. This is not to be done. and we have to think about that what work has been done, whether it is likely to be extended or not, and what is the result of that work. So there must be a very stern monitoring of any of the research work. Similarly, in the institutional level, the supervisor has to see. It is not that the last time the student, at the same time the faculty should wait for the last time submission, that at the last time when the 4 years or 5 years are going to be completed, at that time they have to see that yes, what you have done, I'll see, I'll check, and then these are the problems you have to know. That has to be periodically reviewed by the supervisor so that the work may be good in projection. Then lack of interest among the students for the research. I've seen that the students, they are going through only a single book. So by going through a single book of a single writer, how you can develop the hypothesis, how you can formulate a research problem. And you cannot publish many work also from going through a single book. So this is a culture that has to be stopped, and for this the teachers and the faculty member, they have to take initiative so that the students' interest in the research work may be there. And this is not to be confined only that before publication you have to submit or you have to have published only 2 papers, and that is also in a paid journal, that you should pay some money, because for that the UGC has also come out with this care list, that these are the journals in which publication would be considered to be up to the mark. Then Scopus and in Science, Web of Science, and some all these we can say work is there. So whether your work is published in that or not, you are going up to that category or not, you are reaching up to that status or not, this all has to be created by the faculty in the students so that their lack of interest may be uphold, maybe we can say taken back, and they may have some interest in the research work. Now we are seeing that some of the journals now they demand the author's profile, and to share this ORCID or ResearchGate IDs. It is a mandatory part to avoid this duplicity, and this ORCID that provides a unique ID of 16 digit, which is a digital profile of the person and official ID, etc., all included. So this is something that some checks are being made on this problem of the, we can say knowledge creation, and this has to be followed by all the person concerned. Now coming to my own point, that is related to this HRD ministries, we have seen that in India, we have a very low number of publications. We have a very low number of the patents. We have very low number of the research projects which have been, we can say, finalized. Because I was going through one of the report of the World Intellectual Property Organization, that was of 2017, where in that report, China has made 13 lakhs and 81,584 patent applications, with 9.8% from non-resident Chinese. US made 6 lakhs and 6,956 patent applications, and India made only 46,582 applications for patent, in which 68% were from the non-resident Indians, and it has received or accepted patents were only 12,000. So in this situation, when the scientists in India, when the students, they are not publishing good papers, when they are not working, and because the work is copied and paste, because the work is not original, because the work is not coming under that similarity check, or so many things are there. So in this situation, what we have to do? So as a student of law, as a teacher of law, I see that there are the points which relates to our human rights and fundamental duties. I'll not take much time on this because these are some of the things which are very, we can say, technical and point, but Universal Declaration of Human Rights that confers rights on every human being. So whether a student of science, whether a student of other discipline, they are all human beings, and they have to respect the dignity, they have to respect the privacy of other. So without involving into academic dishonesty, we have to uphold the academic integrity. We have to promote the academic integrity, and so that we can have the education equally with all of us. And similarly, the Constitution of India also provides for that. This is the law of the land. This is the supreme law of the land. Every law has to be checked on the Constitution of India. And at the same time, there is a fundamental duty also of every citizen. Every citizen means every citizen of the country. And this duty is very important, particularly for the students, for the teachers, and for the persons who are in academia, who are in education, that we strive towards excellence in all spheres. We can strive towards excellence when we are working. Originally, we are giving recognition, we are acknowledging others' work without stealing, without cheating others' work. We are working, we are striving towards the excellence in all spheres of the individual and collective activities. It may be a project work, it may be a different authors work, because determining authorship is also one of the very important point. Self-plagiarism is also there. If there are 2-3%, because in science stream we see that hardly there is a single author paper. There are many multi-author papers. So determining the authorship is also very important. Who shall be the first writer, second writer, third writer, whose idea it is. So this also comes under this, we can say, integrity, which we have to follow, so that we can see that our nation constantly rises to the higher level of endeavor and academic. And finally, I would stop with the words of Albert Einstein, when he says that many people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is the character that makes the good researcher or a man perfect. So with these words, I stop myself, and I'll be very happy if there would be certain questions from the participants. Thank you very much.